Hey guys, do you guys are you guys aware that most of us have been inundated and programmed with false images, false perception of what love actually is? One day I kind of woke up and I had this small revelation, this insight that came to me. Having watched, and that revelation was simple. I felt like God was telling me that He was kind of putting a stop to relationships in a sense, more like male female relationships. And there was this need to heal trauma. Because I feel like the way that we've been framed to understand love is more actually attachment that is wrong attachments that are born from traumatic experiences that we've lived, twisted relationships which are born from this false image of love. I remember when I was a young child, one of the first idea of what was loving relationships between men and female, between a boy and a girl. It was when I was looking at the I think it was the top 10 songs, MTV. I was like 5 years old, 3 years old or 4. I was watching TV and I made an insight, a connection. And I would see all those singers kind of singing about, being melodramatic, talking about a girl, how he missed her. I miss you, baby. And going down the stairs or having a breakup and being, you're my everything. And all those fantastic romanticized lines. And I was like, oh. And I was seeing so many singers do that my brain kind of registered this pattern. Oh, a singer is somebody who speaks about love and having a girlfriend and having broken hearts. I think it was even something that a singer is somebody who sings about having his heart broken by a girl. This emotionalism. And this is where as a youth, when you remember these moments, is you start looking at the programming, how the movie you listen to, how the TV shows, how the books that you read, how the songs that you hear can program you to a form of love that doesn't mesh with reality and can cause problems later. Because I feel like there's been this false image of this Cupid throwing an arrow of love being full of just emotionalism and stuff, when actually something that you see throughout scripture, the idea of love is always accompanied by an action. Christ loved the church by giving of himself. And it's a love that is outwards, that is giving of oneself. It's not inwards, turns toward the self. I remember when I was in high school, when you heard guys talking about sleeping with girls, they always put it that way. Hey, did you get some? The girls is hot. It's all about you getting the girl, and it's like, you get the thumbs up, the fist bumps and stuff. But it's all ego driven. It's to feed the self, create these pedestals where I got the super hot girl. No. It's not about building and giving of oneself, being willing to sacrifice the act of love that can create a child that is necessary to build into yourself this ability to sacrifice for the child. No, it's about getting pleasure, short-term pleasure, not long-term building up of relationships. And when I saw these twisted version of love and relationship that we've been ingrained into, practiced, that we see pedestalized, that we try to attain to, that's things that have been broken down through our relationship with God, through understanding, through seeing how twisted relationships have become things like the sexual revolution that have twisted things in their own sense. But it starts with how we've received this idea of love that doesn't mesh with reality. And there have been things that have helped me understand the difference. And one of the things is Star Wars, George Lucas, who talked about actually not love but happiness. And how do we cultivate those things? And you can tie it to the idea of love, because I want to play this following clip because I think it explains it in a really clear sense.
Pleasure is short-lived. It lasts an hour, lasts a minute, lasts a month, and it peaks and then goes down. It peaks very high. But the next time you want to get that same peak, you have to do it twice as much. It's like drugs. Just you have to keep doing it because it insulates itself, no matter what it is. Whether you're shopping, whether you're, engaged in any other kind of pleasure, that all has the same quality about it. On the other hand is joy, and joy is a thing that doesn't go as high as pleasure in terms of your emotional reaction, but it stays with you. Joy is something you can recall. Pleasure you can't. So the secret is that even though it's not as intense as the pleasure, the joy will last you a lot longer. Pleasure is purely self-centered. It's all about your pleasure. It's about you. It's a selfish, self-centered emotion that's created by a self-centered motive of greed. Joy is compassion. Joy is giving yourself to somebody else or something else. And it's a kind of thing that is, in its subtlety and lowness, much more powerful than pleasure. If you get hung up on pleasure, you're doomed. If you pursue joy, you will find everlasting happiness. So with that, I'm gone. Bye-bye, thank you.
And this interesting thing about this high and these lows, instead of chasing these highs, these lows, it can be not only in pleasure, but also in this emotion, burst of emotion, where I've seen couples, it's like arguing, then letting go, and arguing, breaking up, coming back together, breaking up, coming back together, and it's this high and this low. It's all emphasized, it's all screaming, oh, I love you and this, but then it's bickers, and the thing is, the body can get addicted to those high emotions too. So used to it that when you get out and try to get out of this, I think it's something that happens to people who have grown in houses where it's a lot of chaos, stuff like that. When they leave after, they can kind of take in this program, this is how relationships are supposed to be. And when you start getting into a loving relationship where it builds up slowly and stuff, and it's day by day, well, the thing is, things that are worth it, it takes time to build. But the thing is, those people tend to find those situations boring. That's a pattern that I've started to hear. People who think they've noticed that when they went from the chaos to what is normal, to them it was such a lack of stimulus that they considered it boring, when in actuality it could be a more normal way of building a relationship. And the ego sometimes wants to be satisfied. Again, this idea that love is not about receiving to oneself, but also giving away. There's no greater form of love than giving your life, giving your time, your energy to others. And that's a good thing, but even that idea of giving of oneself to somebody who already, it's easy for the ego to take that idea and twist it again to the point where you're giving of yourself, but you're not actually taking your time to, or having recognized the love that you should have towards yourself, have somebody of value. So you end up in these relationships where you get taken advantage of because you don't see yourself as value, as enough. So you have to do a lot of things to see yourself as enough for this relationship, holding on to that person. So no, stay here, I'm gonna do more, I'm gonna do better, instead of understanding your value. And then because you understand this value, you live from a certain level, a certain vibration, certain frequency, where you can actually attract somebody else who sees themselves as valuable. And that's the thing with the love. It's not something that it's not the child that learns, about love that becomes loving in his head. It's the one that experiences it. You can only give out the love that you first experienced. And that's something that's represented. It's this love that you take into yourself, that you receive from God, from others, but especially from God, and that allows you to break those egoic patterns in your head, which is all self-centered. You understand the beauty of giving yourself, and sometimes you need to experience somebody else giving of themselves to you to then realize, wow, this is the power. And it's exemplified really probably by one of the best interview I've heard from, I think, Jon Stewart, that was interviewing Shia LaBeouf. And even Shia LaBeouf kind of explained how his own idea of love was the same, similar. Oh, great expression, she's the one. It's a giving out of yourself, and it's a high emotional highs, emotional lows, and kind of all chaotic, which she expressed in this following clip.
But every woman was the one for me. There was never a two. If you liked me, you were the one. Yeah. And that had to do with my insecurity and my fear. Like I didn't have there was no 2 or 3, or I was just dating like frivolously. It was always like this grand hair climbing up the super emotional, super romantic, super this fierce romance, you know, that I was searching for. Drugs, you know, every time I need validation, I'm with this woman, and she becomes what the mask of success that the job created for me, which kept me from like really looking at myself. She became that for me in the interim. And he's like, you got to get rid of all of it, you know. There is no more work and no more romance for a year. You're going to have to give me a year. And I'm thinking like, I'm not going to be able to pull that off. I'm driving back from the beach back to where I'm living, and I get out of my car and her bags are packed. She's on her way out. And old me would have written a haiku poem in blood and ripped my shirt off Hulk Hogan style, ran down the street and jumped over the fence, and that guy, climbed the hair up the thing. Yeah, boombox in the air guy. That's what I came up on. And something in me, from having heard what I just heard, what feels like this is now I can't get no lower. I hear this like I can't call it. And it becomes like the most diplomatic breakup I ever had in my life. And I say, what can I do? And can I get you a car? And she goes, no, don't worry about it. Go get well.
Shia LaBeouf, who was out of his process of finding faith in God, but also rehab, where there was all these accusations of domestic violence that he had towards other people, and he was really in a messy place. And it was in that time of transition where he talks about his understanding of love, how it changed his understanding of relationship. So I just want to end with this clip of this part of the interview where he talks about it.
And so I didn't know what love was. I didn't know what that actually meant. And what it is it's selfless service for your fellows. That's what love is. And so I never had really done any of that. I had never been in part of any of that.
I just want to give you one more opportunity, if you want it, just to speak about your wife, man, and just about what she means to you. And
what I know love to be is selfless, loving action. And I've never known anything as loving or as selflessly active as what this woman did for me in my life. She showed up for me at a time when, this is the first time I saw her. We had been estranged for like years because of my jealousy. I wound up at this rehab, right, in Utah, and they do something called Family Week. And every week on a Sunday, everybody who's involved in the program has their family show up on these Skype calls. This isn't just alcoholics. This is like arsonists and like child predators and all kind of wild people in this group, right? And they got people showing up for them, and I don't have nobody showing up for me. And week 2, week 3, I'm there 90 days, so I'm there for a clip. And there comes a point where Family Week comes around, I say to my therapist, like, I'm not gonna go, you know? And she says, no, I think you should show up this week. And I show up thinking, all right, my mom's gonna be on there, you know, my mom will be on. And Mia is on the screen. And, you know, like, you don't deserve that kind of, you know what I mean? You don't deserve that kind of, like, I don't deserve that kind of, you know, I done put her through years and years of nonsense, bro. Just like, I don't have nothing to offer her either, you know what I mean? I'm in the middle of my shit, you know? I'm like 2 months into this program, you know? I don't even have nothing going on. I have nothing going on. I'm making this list. She's at the top of the list, but I'm not reaching out to her, nothing like that. And she unmutes and she's like, hi, Shia. You know, and it's like, she's prepping a movie. She ain't got no fucking time for this, you know, but she found time and she said, hi, Shia. And we just smiled. We had nothing else to say. But she saved my fucking life, dog. Like, there wasn't no promises made, wasn't no long conversation being had, nothing. Just her presence, the ministry of presence. Sometimes that's all you need to offer a person who's in a situation like that, is like, just to be present. And she was present for me at a time when I didn't deserve to have nobody in my life. It's the first time I really understood love, because I didn't have nothing to give.
So just to end this video, it's to, again, just share this idea that things in my life, the experience of love from God is possible, it's alive, and just to step in this place of silence, to be silent, to cultivate this time of prayer, this life of prayer where you're silent and you allow those loving thoughts to overcome you. The silent prayer that allows the love of God to fill ourselves is what keeps us from running around trying to seek love outside of us. But understand that we need to find this, cultivate this place of experiencing it, so all those negative patterns are coming out to the surface and falling off of us, becoming a new man. Right, one last thing. I remember a girl I was talking to. She was new at church. She had a relationship. She's now married. She told me that there was a point where she wouldn't have married her present husband because she had a talk with the pastor, and the pastor told her about love being, not only this emotion, but this action. Because if it's only emotional, it can change from day to day. But the action that you have towards someone that you love, those sacrifices, even though you may not feel the day, this ecstasy, greater than this eros, Cupid hitting you, and you becoming blind and just being led by the emotion, but understanding that you can still just choose and decide, make the choice of loving somebody, of giving to themselves. Hope that might have given you a new perspective on what love is. So that's about it for today. Understanding love in a new way. Peace.